Hey, everybody. This is episode 11 of Can We Talk About Your WordPress Projects? The reason I wanted to do this particular topic today is because I was having a conversation with James Rose the other day, and we were talking, he's all about productivity. That's his big thing. And so we were talking about productivity and we were talking about project management. He said, I haven't done project management in years. And I said, how can that be? You know, he also is one of the co-owners of Content Snare, which is a software product. And I'm thinking, how can that be? You manage projects all the time because you do all of these things. You do a podcast and you do these are projects. Although maybe they're not. So we're going to break this down a little bit because I think there is some confusion between what is project management, what is productivity management, what is business management in general, or process management. So as always, I have slides because it's just easier for me to focus and remember exactly the points I want to cover for you. And I know as an instructional designer that sometimes seeing something visual is going to stick with you a lot better, a lot longer than me just sitting here rattling off all this information. So let me share my screen and I will bring up my slides. Hey, Shanta, glad you're here. Okay, there you go. I've even got a title slide with my little title thing for my ongoing, I don't know, is this a video show? It's definitely not a podcast. So Shanta, and never mind, you don't have to tell me. I can see that you are seeing the slide. Hopefully you're hearing me. Yay. Okay, so, and then I'm also going to be grouping these in the unit section of the Facebook group. Once I get them produced and the re-recording done, I'll start grouping them together in the unit section. Okay, yeah, you can hear me and see. Great. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Okay, so if you've been following me for any period of time, you have heard me talk ad nauseum about these 6 principles for WordPress project success. And they are: define the job in detail with a content first approach, get the right resources involved, estimate the time and costs often, break the job down, establish and stick to a change procedure, and agree on interim and final acceptance criteria. But the truth is, these are not just 6 principles for WordPress project success. They are 6 principles for project success. Now you'll notice I removed some of the words. If we're not dealing strictly with WordPress, then, or strictly with a website development project, I should say, then define the job in detail. You're still going to get the right resources involved. You still may estimate the time and cost often. With any kind of project, you'd want to do that. You're still going to break the job down. You're still going to establish and stick to a change procedure, and you're going to agree on acceptance criteria. But the truth is, these are really 6 principles for success in just about anything you do in your business. Think about it. With everything you do, and even in life, in your personal life as well. Define the job in detail. Get the right resources involved. Let me give you some examples in a minute. Estimate the time and cost. We do this every day, and we don't realize it. Break the job down, establish a change procedure, and agree on acceptance criteria. Now, I did not realize this slide was animated because I copied it out of another slide deck. But I want to make sure that we are talking about the same things. So it's important that we talk about what these terms actually mean. So a principle is a rule to be followed. Those 6 principles I just gave you, rules to be followed. A process is a description of the method or methods that you're going to use to follow the rule, to follow the principle. And that may contain 1 or more procedures. And so a procedure is the step-by-step that's necessary to carry out the process. Now, there's also a difference between processes and assets, okay? So a project management process is a description of how you're going to carry out the activities and tasks necessary to successfully manage an aspect of project management. A project management asset is a reusable standard list or a description of the things that you're going to use to carry out the project management process. Okay, so we've got principles, we've got processes, we've got procedures, and then we've got assets. And all of those things together are what build your project management methodology or your business management methodology. So what is a project exactly? A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result, okay? It has a beginning and an end. It has a stated level of performance. It has a budget or a cost and a specific outcome. And then if you guys are going through, oh, hey, Jamie, if you guys are going through the academy training, then you've seen this little diagram at the bottom, which is called the triple constraint. And what it basically says is that in order to end up with a quality product for a project, you've got to manage the scope, you've got to manage the cost, and you've got to manage the time. That's your only job. It's so easy. It's not easy because if you have a change to scope, that's going to change the cost. And then you got to have conversations with the client. If something happens and the timeline changes, then that may change the scope of your project. So it's like that. And you may have seen that GIF or GIF. I can't remember which is the proper way to pronounce that out there on the internet somewhere where it's like fast, cheap, and good. And you can't have all three. So that's how that triple constraint works. Now, if that's what project management means, then where's the team? Well, that's the thing, is that I think that's where James and I were kind of missing the mark on, were we talking about the same thing? Because I think that he was viewing project management as, here's a team and we're all working together to get this thing done. So I have to manage all the people. I have to manage, the tasks. I have to manage all the client, blah, blah, blah. But a team is not required for project management. Now, business management are things, and I'm going to give you an example of some projects that you might not even think are really projects, but they really are in just a minute. But for business management, when we're talking about business management, that's stuff like onboarding your employees, accounting and expense reporting, legal stuff, marketing and sales, how you're going to manage your client accounts, support management, onboarding clients, and recurring revenue. Those are all ongoing things that happen all the time. So those aren't really projects, so to speak. Process management or productivity management is creating and managing processes for all those things, for business management, for project management, and for continuous improvement. So if you think about those 6 principles, they can actually be applied to all 3 of those aspects of your business. So here's what most people don't realize. Just about everything you do is a project. Weekly grocery shopping. Let's think about that. Let's break that down in terms of the principles. Define the job in detail. Well, you're probably going to figure out what recipes you want to cook that week, and you're going to create a shopping list. So that is defining your job in detail. Get the right resources involved. Which grocery store are you going to shop at? Maybe you're going to buy some of your things at Aldi, and I think everybody knows what Aldi is, or some of your things at the local grocer on the corner. So that's getting the right resources involved. Do you have the cash to buy the groceries? That's getting the right resources involved. Estimating the time and cost. Do you have the cash to buy the groceries? So that's estimating the time and cost. Breaking the job down. You might have your weekly list. If you shop at the same grocery store all the time and you know how it's laid out, you might organize your shopping list to correspond with the aisles of the grocery store. That's breaking the job down. Establish a change procedure. Now, this is something I've had to invoke a lot lately because I go to buy something that I always buy and it's completely not on the shelf. Why is that? I don't understand. I know there's a problem with the supply chain right now with everything that's going on, but it's hugely frustrating. So you have to have a change procedure. And so your decision at that point for your change procedure is, am I going to buy a different brand, a different product, or am I just going to skip it and wait till it shows up on the shelf? And then agree on acceptance criteria. You know, you get home, you've got all your groceries. Did you get everything you meant to get on your list? Now, if you're like me, sometimes I leave the list at home, which is stupid, but I've done it before. I'm starting to keep it on my phone more. So that way I've always got my list with me. But the other thing is, sometimes I forget to look at the list while I'm in the grocery store, especially if it's a short list. I think, oh, I got everything. And then I get home and go, oh man, I forgot the napkins. So what am I going to do? Am I going to go back to the store? Or am I just going to deal with paper towels until I can go back and get napkins? That's an odd example. I use paper towels almost all the time. I don't buy paper napkins anymore. I don't know why. Another example is home repair. I use this example all the time, like tiling your kitchen floor. Let's say you're going to DIY and tile your kitchen floor. Well, the first thing you got to do is define the job in detail. But maybe you don't know much about tiling kitchen floors, so you got to do a lot of research first. That's still part of defining the job in detail. You're going to get the right resources involved. I'll tell you from experience, you need to buy a tile cutting tool. Driving to the hardware store to get them to do it for you 25 times while you're tiling the floor is not fun. So you got to get the right resources involved. Who are the experts who can tell you the best way to tile a kitchen floor? Of course, you're going to estimate the time and cost. One reason I started DIYing with ceramic tile is because I was buying the tile at the salvage store, which was great because I was getting these great 12 by 12 tiles for $1 a piece. But then when I started looking for somebody to lay that tile, they wanted like $8 to $10 a foot to lay the tile, which was crazy based on the amount that I had paid for the actual tile. So that's how I learned to do it myself. Break the job down. You know, when you're tiling, you've got to put some things down and let that cure and then put the next thing down. So you got to plan out your time and break the job down into phases. Establish a change procedure. What if it looks crappy when I'm done? What if my husband doesn't like it? You know, what am I going to do? Am I going to just leave it? So you need to establish a change procedure for just about everything, and then agree on acceptance criteria. How do I know when I'm done? Well, I'm done when all the tools are put away, the floor is clean, and, you know, whatever that criteria is, then I know that I'm done with that job. So you can see changing a tire, creating a new process is actually a project. It's a tiny project, but it's still a project in and of itself. And then, of course, building a website is a project, and that's what we talk about in the Academy, how to apply these principles to building a website so that you can get done on time, within budget, with the right features, and hold on to more of your profit margin. Because if you apply, no matter what you apply these principles to, you're going to come out better on the other end because you did these things. You are able to keep your costs down and keep your time down by applying these 6 principles. Okay, so I'm just looking at the comments over here. Shanta says, I know I'm jumping the gun on this, but I always believed that project management was a component of business management. My degree, for example, was business management, and one of the classes was project management. Right, it can be. It can be a component of business management, but in this respect, what I'm trying to talk about is the difference between those processes and things that you have to design for your business and the ones that you have to design for managing a project. Every business has to have the business management piece. Some businesses don't really have formal projects the way that we do with clients and stuff. Okay, but the main difference between all of these, between business management, which is ongoing, and process and productivity management, which is ongoing, typically a project management, a project has a beginning and an end. So it's easy to get confused about which things are project management and which things are process. When I told James, I said, James, you manage projects all the time, whether you realize it or not. And he said, oh, well, I was looking at that more like process. But if every release of his software is a project, so he's managing projects, whether he thinks so or not. And then there is overlap, okay? Because whether you're dealing with business management, with process management, or project management, you still got to have those standard operating procedures. So you got to have the step-by-step for all of those different things. And it can be overwhelming with all of the processes that you've got to come up with for your business, not just the project management piece, which I cover in great detail about all the processes you need there, but you also need processes for your business, and you need standard operating procedures for those processes, because when you have them and things become more of a checklist, you're not going to forget things. You're going to, and then you're going to do it consistently the same way every time. And when you do it consistently the same way every time, then you can start to invoke continuous improvement, which is, let's make this process better, automate it, whatever it is to make the process better. Another place for overlap, as I said before, is that these 6 principles apply to all of this. And so what I'm teaching in the Academy can be applied to a lot of things in your life. I've often thought, and I'm actually kind of toying with the idea a little more directly now, is I've often thought I would like to write a book on the 6 principles that changed my life. Now, these principles are not original. I did not come up with them. They were taught to me back in the late 90s when I was working for an IT consulting firm. And John Keane wrote these 6 principles down. I believe it was on the back of a napkin. Isn't that the way they always start? And when we started applying these, and when he started applying them across the corporation and made everybody from the very top management all the way down follow those principles, everything got done better, faster, and much more to the customer's satisfaction. Okay, so one thing I wanted to tell you about, I'm not done because I'm going to review what we just talked about. It's always good to tell people what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. But I wanted to tell you, I'm so excited about the WP Project Managers Academy certifications. And I'm doing some more research on how to use open badges in our environment. And so what this will be is, once you satisfy the criteria, and the quizzes are, for the level 1, it's mostly just the quizzes, a final exam, and there might be a couple of other things, but they're not going to be hard to do, although the quizzes are not that easy. You have to go through the training too. You have to complete all the training. So, and what this means, for those of you who don't know how this works, is that once you get this certification and you get this badge, you can share this badge across social media, you can put it on your website, and anybody that wants to know what that badge means can click on it, and it tells them exactly what you've done to earn that certification. So I'm so excited about that, because I think it'll help those of you who are not moving through the PM 101 roadmap like you should. I think this will help you get some incentive to do so. And then I haven't worked out all the details of the level 2, but one thing that one person suggested that I think is a really good idea, as long as I can figure out how to make it work, is to have a place for people who get the level 2 certification to have a place on either on the WP Roadmaps website or another website where you can have a profile of, I am a WordPress project manager, and here's how you can get in touch with me. Here are the kinds of websites I deal with. Here's the kind of services I offer. So it's just one more place to get some advertising, but still working that out in my head. So if you are not a member of the Academy, I invite you to join us today. And as I said, you can do that for free at wproadmaps.com/join us. Okay, so Jamie says I should write the book. Well, I have a Zoom call scheduled tomorrow with Mike Killen, who has written several books, several very successful books. And I signed up for his How to Write a Book course. It was really short, but this call is part of that. So he's going to look at my outline and kind of give me some feedback on that. So I'm really excited about that. So that's all I had to talk to you about today. So remember, business management and process management, or productivity management, whatever you want to call that, and project management are not the same, but they have a lot of overlap. And the 6 principles that I teach you about everywhere in the Facebook group, they are over in the units. Those are really old, but it's still the same concept. I'll probably need to reshoot those. But I talk about it everywhere because it truly is the 6 principles that changed my life. It makes everything easier if I can remember to apply them. I'm not saying that I sit down every time I'm going to the grocery store and go, okay, how am I going to define the job in detail? How am I going to break the job down? My point there was that you're probably doing a lot of these things on a day-to-day basis, whether you realize it or not. And if you take those same approaches and apply it to your project management, you're going to be oh so much more successful. So that is the end of this episode of Can We Talk About Your WordPress Projects? And I hope that y'all got a lot out of this. And I'd love to see your comments if you have any questions. If you have any problems with the Academy or anything that's going on, please feel free to put them in the comments. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the Monday, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. And once again, if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to post in the Facebook group. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Stay productive, stay strong, and never stop learning. See you soon.